Welcome to Donnie Jones Live. I am your certified arborist, Donnie the Tree Lady.
And I am that guy, Marty McFly. And you know what? I'm excited today.
I bet you are.
I really am, because see, it's very few
scared.
times. It's very few times that I have a situation, a current situation.
It's a current situation,
right? Because I was counseling a friend of mine the other day.
Yeah.
Okay, and he was having some marital problems.
Yes.
And it was one of those few times that I did not know what to say to him. I didn't have a good answer.
Yeah, but you always have good answers because you come from the heart on that. I just think people don't want to hear what you got to say when you're telling them the truth.
Yeah, but okay, this is a true story. Okay, honestly, and maybe Donnie first before we bring the specialist on, maybe you can help me with this.
We're gonna talk a little bit. Go ahead.
So this guy, honestly, he's a pretty large guy. Okay, he's about 6'3", heavy set.
Gotcha.
And he has a petite wife that loves to drink. Okay. She is a drinker.
Okay, got it.
And sometimes you have people that indulge so much in drinking that they just lose their mind.
Right.
So he was telling me about the other night, his wife just got really, 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 really drunk.
Okay.
And started messing with him. And started saying, you this and you that, and start pushing on him, and he's like, "Look, just leave me alone."
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And she starts hitting on him and doing all this stuff. Right. He goes to his little girl's room and is like, "Look, I'm gonna sleep in here. Leave me alone." He actually got on his knees and started praying and everything.
Right, absolutely.
Leave me alone. She kicks the door open.
What?
And starts, no, this. You need to get up and this. You ain't this man and you ain't this.
Right.
He leaves. He's like, "Leave me alone."
Right.
All right.
I know where this is going. Okay.
So he's over there by the counter or whatever, and they have a TV on the top of the counter.
Oh, gosh.
She has a nerve to push the TV on top of him, and it hits him in the head. And he says, "Pastor, I blinked out." And next thing I know, I said, "Boom."
Okay.
And she said, and he said, I said, "Boom." And she said, "Ah." And he said, I picked her up and I said, "Look, woman, I will kill you." And he puts her back down. She leaves him alone. And then the next morning, she's like, "Hey, what happened? My side kind of hurt."
Yeah,
okay. But and then so he's asking me, do I confess and tell her? Because he's like, I have a clean track record.
Right.
I ain't never put my hands on a woman.
Right, of course.
And to this point, she still don't know that I put my hands on her.
Marty.
So
I think
what should I do? I'm saying because me, I'm kind of like, well, the real side of it was she kind of deserved it.
Oh my God, no, she didn't. Marty.
I'm saying now,
Marty.
At what point?
Oh my God.
Do you say, okay, I ain't gonna be no
Marty?
punk?
You totally went left field. Okay. But that was an honest story.
Honest story.
I'm of the school of thought honesty.
Uh-huh.
I would have a talk with her, but honestly, if she's drinking that much, I'm not saying she's got a problem, but generally people that drink so much they black out generally have some type of problem. Not 100% of the time,
right?
But I think there's some underlying issues that need to be addressed. So.
But in that moment, what are you supposed to do?
What do you do?
If somebody is like constantly putting their hands
I would leave the situation.
Okay,
I would have grabbed
into the other room.
That's not leaving the situation. I would grab that I would have grabbed the baby and left the house. That's what I personally would have done. So anywho, I usually start with how was your weekend?
But that's something that was something that's really on my mind on this weekend. Okay. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. I've had those situations myself several times.
Right.
And I can't.
But you're a little guy.
I know.
So your wife could take you. Anywho,
see what I'm saying?
Speaking of husband and wife,
that means we in the same
y'all in the weight class.
In the same weight class.
Marty, you had your coffee today.
Off.
You had your coffee today.
After you say stop,
Marty.
quit it. Okay, I had my coffee today.
You had your coffee today.
Personnel.
Even though you didn't ask me how my weekend was. I had a great weekend. My husband took me to the symphony. I'm happy. Bye.
Oh, I know you was happy. I called you the other day early, and you was like, "Hey, that must be a good day."
I did, because I have an awesome relationship, just like you do. And speaking of relationships, and an uncomfortable segue, we have a relationship coach on the show today.
I don't know why I brought a good subject up that he can help me with. I'm saying I gotta say
that was a 5-minute story
that I need clarification with, because some guys are asking that same question.
As I was saying, we have a relationship coach on the show today. Our goal is to bring you wonderful guests that can give insight and inspiration so that you can take your life and your relationships to the next level.
Yes.
Bingo. So we have a gentleman who's an author. He's an inspiration. He's actually somebody that's out there actively making a difference in men and women's lives through his truth, his honesty, and his ability to tell stories and to reach people in a way that a lot of people aren't reaching them right now. And I'm talking about the wonderful Elam King.
Good afternoon.
The king
How are
is
you?
here.
How
Yes.
are you?
The king is sorry. Yeah, but he is here. So
And I
We're
appreciate
testing
that story.
blood after the show today.
Man, look,
I want a pee
It-
test
it-
after the show today.
We ain't doing
But
no
there's
R.
actually
Kelly
a
stuff.
moral to that story, though.
Okay, talk to me.
And as he was speaking, I thought about something
What do
that
you
actually
think of the
occurred
story?
yesterday
Yeah.
to me.
Okay.
Without saying the name, there was a bookstore that had my books, right?
Right.
And I left it with them last year. Let's fast forward into the summer. I went to the respective mall and I noticed that the bookstore was closed. So I'm like, huh? So I hit them on Instagram
Right.
back in July.
Right.
And then they were like, oh, well, such and such is going to follow up with you. Okay. Well, it kind of went out of my head.
Right.
Yesterday, saw them come down my Instagram feed. So I'm like, oh, okay, hit her up. She calls me.
Right.
All right. And, within 30 seconds, her tone became aggressive because
Really?
she was the owner. And bottom line is that I guess she took offense to, whomever, her coworker that didn't do what they needed to
Right,
do.
right.
I'm not going to say the victim, but I'm your customer.
Yeah, you're the client.
You
yeah.
moved and you didn't send no email, no nothing. So she starts snapping.
Right.
So normally when the energy shifts like that, I kind of stay. But
Right.
she said something, and a little, a word slipped out my mouth. Right? It wasn't of the B where
It wasn't
a little
Jesus,
S
right.
came
Right,
out.
right.
And so she was like, "Oh, you cussing?" And I was just like, "Well, And I kept talking. I'm like, "Well, I'm going with your energy," and it
Right,
shifted
absolutely.
a while ago, and I tried to bring it back 2 or 3
Right.
times, but I could only go but so far. Anyway, let's fast forward. After a sentence or two, I get the F you and click, you hang up.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
Then you call me back like 2-3 minutes later. I guess now we're in a relationship now because you,
Right.
call me back to back.
Oh, it ain't over with.
And then and I didn't answer because I was like, okay, I don't want any more of the energy.
Absolutely.
She leaves on my
You're
voice.
trying to step away from the situation.
Yes. I'm
Got
like,
it.
and I sent her a text. I said, listen, my books are a donation to you. And if what I need you to do is take some of that money and go get some leadership training, and so that
Counseling.
and some customer service training because
Yes.
clearly you don't even know how to communicate to a customer nor have accountability.
Right.
She calls and leaves on my voicemail talking about da 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 da. Oh, well, you're only talking to me like that because I'm a black woman. And would you talk to Barnes and Nobles like that? And, that's what's
Well,
wrong
Barnes
with
and
you.
Noble ain't close.
Hold on,
Which
hold
my
on.
merchandise said.
Hello? They would have sent me an email.
Right.
But no, we won't even go into that. But then she
Okay.
goes into how that's what's wrong with y'all black men. You want a queen, but you're the one acting like a queen. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh my
So-
goodness.
And so I sent her an email afterwards, and I just explained her needing to take accountability, customer service, and I said,
Absolutely.
as far as me being a queen, first of all, my last name is King for a reason.
Come on now.
Okay, and
You're royalty.
And let me explain to you that actually today it was 2 men on the phone because you came at me like a dude. So after a while, I came back at you like one. To your point, right? And so and I said normally I don't let my energy shift, but I did walk with you.
Right.
And you know what? I apologize for letting that one cuss word slip out. But I went and I said, so the thing is that we both acted like men today, but only one of us was born as one. And if you want to be treated like a lady, you need to act like one.
Yes.
And you need to understand that feminine energy is actually more powerful in a
It's very
conversation
powerful,
versus
yes.
masculine. But you
Yeah.
came at me with masculine energy, so
Right.
you got a masculine man came back
Right,
at you.
right,
Don't talk to
absolutely.
me about no queen and king stuff. You
Yeah.
didn't act like a queen.
But here's the thing,
the
though.
king is there.
But here's the other thing that I think was missing out of that situation. Sometimes we don't put ourselves in other people's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't put herself in your shoes thinking, okay, this gentleman is coming to me. I've obviously had some type of challenge to where my store is closed.
Right.
Let me see what I can do to keep this relationship
Right.
for when I move forward on whatever new adventure she's on. So I think, like you said, there's some leadership issues
Right.
definitely going there.
If I can add in, I think there's some issues that she's had from a long
Previous,
time.
yeah,
because
absolutely.
I've been around women that unfortunately they feel like because I'm a woman, you talk to me differently.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and
Yeah.
just having that statement because I'm a black woman,
Yeah.
you
Right.
treat me like this. No,
You came
I'm
on the
treating you like
phone.
this because of you.
But,
Super
let's
aggressive.
let our listeners know who we're talking to. Once again, we're talking to Elam King, and he is a relationship coach. We actually didn't get a chance to get into your story, so can you tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll take a quick break and come back.
Okay. Well, I'm the author of Understanding a Man, Empowering Women with Tools for Lasting
needed your book,
Relationships.
didn't she?
What? Send a Kindle, send her everything.
Okay, so your
Audio
story.
book, everything. Anyway,
Braille.
so what I, being a man, I guess for the majority of my life. So I had a spiritual advisor about a couple years ago, based upon some of the things that had occurred in my life. She said, "Hey, you need to, write a book." And I'm like, "Huh, me? I don't even like English. What you talking about?"
Right.
And so, but understanding that men don't normally talk, we don't communicate the way that we should, and having daughters as well, I said, okay. And so, but instead of it just coming from me, I said, okay, well, let me just interview some other individuals.
Right.
And before that, I actually looked at the topics that men kind of wanted. So I did my research. And so it's 15 different chapters of various topics of imagine yourself walking to a room, ladies, and standing around you are 24 big brothers that are going to give you the real. Some of the things that daddy did tell you, if your father was in your life, will be a compliment, but some addition there.
That maybe dad didn't talk to you
didn't
about.
talk to you about.
Right.
And then, like my wife didn't have her father in her life. So there were certain things in the first couple of years where I was just like, oh, wow, you don't know this or that or whatever case it be. We just assume.
Right.
And so it actually gives structure to those individuals as well. And then even for men, it kind of validates of, okay, it's not just me, that thinks like that. And I've had a lot of couples read it together and get healing. And then, as the guys are reading it, they're just like, see, it wasn't just me.
I'm going to say this. Wait. I'm going to say this. Already, I know some people are going to want to buy this book. Where can they purchase it at? Where can they get your book at real quick?
It's available on my website, understandingaman.com.
Okay.
And then also on Amazon. I'm also on audiobook and iTunes, so you can get it, on. I'm a big audio person, so I had to put it on audio.
Oh, that's what's up.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Doni the Tree Lady.
I am Marty McFly, and I'll be a little bit subdued for the next
No,
break.
don't be subdued. I'm like, he's bringing it today.
Okay, because the next one needs to be, understanding yourself. Because that's what. Anyway, we'll be right back.
Yeah. Welcome back to Donnie Jones Live. I am Doni the Tree Lady.
And I am that guy, Marty McFly.
And we are
with a guy that just has so much knowledge that I wish my wife could have read this book. I wish my first girlfriend could have read this book. I wish that woman
Wasn't
that
your
broke
wife
up.
your first girlfriend anyway?
No, it was the girlfriend that broke up the marriage. That was the first. Anyway, but that's a whole different story. They both should have read the book, Understanding the Man.
Well, Elam, what do you feel women need to know about men that's really missing in our society right now?
I don't think it's just one thing.
It's multiple. Well, that's why there's 15 questions,
it's 15
right?
different
15 chapters.
I think what's missing the most out of a lot of relationships are themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of women, because, from day one, you got doll houses, right? Traditionally speaking, you're playing with dolls and little things. So you're brought into that nurturing. Yeah. Okay, get married, Ken and Barbie and all that. Meanwhile, we're outside with rocks and pebbles, right?
Right.
And dirt and all that. And so we're more taught to not understand emotion in ourselves. You're more taught to. So as you get older, it's okay, dress and picket fence and somebody come and sweep me off, let me fall in love and get married. Yeah. Meanwhile, they haven't fallen in love with themselves. So I think that one of the biggest pieces that are missing out of relationships is the individual. They're probably more living for the other person, trying to satisfy, the mate, or women trying to satisfy the man when they haven't even satisfied themselves. Because if you don't understand yourself, then how can I learn to love you?
Well, I've heard so many men say this, and I think women take it the wrong way, because then they become this perception of a powerhouse that isn't attractive. But I've heard many men say that confidence is sexy in a woman.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think women confuse what real confidence in yourself is.
Yes.
You're trying to be somebody you're not, and that's not what confidence is. And I think that can also affect the relationship when you're not happy with who you are, but you're trying to project this this person just in order to attract somebody into a relationship.
And that says it all. I think I do pre-marriage.
Well, I try.
I do pre-marriage coaching, and so the first two, when I meet with the couples, the first two sessions are met individually. So let's say it was you and Marty. The first session, it doesn't matter who goes first, but I would meet with you individually, then I meet with you.
And for the record, me and Marty are married to separate people.
Right.
And so in that first maybe 15, 20 minutes, I'm trying to understand whether you understand yourself. Right. Because how can you, walk into your house and lead that man into learning and understanding to love you. Just because y'all been together 2, 3, 4, 5
Right.
years, it doesn't mean
Right.
anything.
It
People
doesn't.
have that time frame of, oh, let me get married by 30. Do you know yourself by 30? Because I have plenty of clients that are in their 50s that are just now figuring out who
Right.
they are, but they've been married for 10, 15, 20 years.
Right.
And you're trying to get the relationship to work. You have to understand that ultimately, if you lose yourself, you have a very high probability of losing the other individual.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting about the marriage counseling because, you know, usually they have the couples together first and then they do the individuals and then they bring them back. But it's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who has a couple who, I guess they've been in a relationship for 8 months and they're about to get married.
Okay.
And the female is kind of concerned because the male has not approached her at all for sex. You know, and she's wondering.
Yeah, she needs to be scared about that.
That's what I said. That's exactly
At least
what
that's
I
holler
said.
at it.
You know,
I
just
said,
a
yeah.
Now, do
he
you
hadn't
have-
tried.
Right.
Hasn't
tried.
But she's
anything.
happy because he loves. He
Well,
loves
see,
God. And
No, and I understand. Here's
he
the
loves
thing.
her, and he's
Yeah.
just restraining himself.
And that's
But I'm
possible.
like, but he hasn't even tried.
That
he
is
hasn't even
possible.
tried.
You know, I mean,
You
here's
know,
the
No,
thing.
low-
come on,
low-
not
low
even
rub or
just try.
something.
Nah, you can we can touch or
Uh-huh.
something, you know, but
Right.
and
But
that might be
she's
the
in this
discipline.
mindset. Well, he respects me as a woman, whereas
She gonna be pissed.
But you
after
know
they
what
get
though?
married.
You know what? On the other side
he in
of
the
the fence,
choir. That's all I know.
Yeah,
I'm just
gonna
kidding.
there are some what is it? There are some women that let's flip that, right? There are
Right.
some women that would date a guy and then not have sex with him because you have this other person filling that void. You're not cheating. Let's just be real. If you're unmarried, you're not cheating. You don't belong to that person. You might be being unfaithful. But how are you gonna put yourself in the same category as a married person? You're not cheating. There's no ownership.
Yeah. That just let you know, bro. That doesn't work in relationships.
It doesn't.
You know,
I'm just
saying,
telling you. I
I'm
know
just
you're
saying,
a
you know,
relationship coach.
if me
I'm
and
just
you
giving- hey,
dating,
listen.
If we're dating,
me and you dating,
monogamy.
and it's like, okay, me and you ain't sleeping together, but you over there sleeping with him.
No, that's wrong.
If I
That's,
know
I
about
didn't say
that,
it was. It's not
if I know-
right.
yeah, it
I
ain't.
know. Don't get me
No.
wrong.
Okay.
Make no
I don't
mistake
even
about it.
know
It's
about
not
it.
right.
Right.
But it's
you're
okay.
being unfaithful at that point.
Yes, you're being
you
unfaithful.
are being unfaithful.
But let's
yes.
move on to your book.
Is it well? And the same thing with marriage. Then it would not be the same thing.
No,
Where
sir,
you're
because
being
that's before God and
you-
the Bible says. I
and-
mean,
and-
it's
and-
very
and-
clear
and-
adultery.
Yeah,
let
but
me
if you're
ask.
in a committed relationship and you go kick it with somebody else,
That's
that's
unfaithful.
cheating.
That's unfaithful.
sharing
That's-
your love with
we-
somebody else.
Huh?
Sharing your
Okay,
love
you're
with
saying
somebody
tomato,
else.
I'm saying tomato.
Right.
I
if
would
it's a
disagree
physical
because you're
act,
saying one is under law and one is under what?
Honesty and truth and
Okay,
integrity.
no, so you're going to put something that's legal
Yes.
over something that's not. It's not. It's okay. Will you for a person who's
Okay,
dating
I got
somebody?
a perfect example.
Somebody's dating somebody and they cheat. Is anybody paying any alimony? Is anybody
But
paying?
that's still wrong,
So
though.
I didn't say it wasn't wrong. So that's what I'm saying. I never said it wasn't wrong. It's unfaithful. It is wrong.
Right.
But it is not. From a legal perspective, you can't put it in the same category as a married couple. You can't.
But I don't even think it's illegal to cheat, but it's still wrong.
Actually, no.
Right.
Well, when I say
by the
legal,
law.
I mean the legalities that can come from if you cheat and I go to court and I throw that in front of the judge, the penance that's going to come down on you
Right.
is different than we're boyfriend and
boyfriend and
girlfriend. And we
girlfriend.
go
Okay,
to
I see
court,
what you're saying.
and the judge is like, "That's your problem."
Okay, I
But
got
that's
you.
only
got
if you
me.
got stuff to split.
Exactly. Let's talk about this book. You've got several chapters in there that I found to be very interesting. And one of them is, what is nagging?
Oh,
Why was that so important for you to
that
put that
is-
in there and tell us about
Hey,
it?
hold on. I want to text my wife because I want her to listen
You
to
know.
this one. Ask her to tune in now.
That was actually, and of the top 3 topics, that was
Yeah.
actually the number 2 topic. It was the number 2 and number 3 topic that the men brought up.
Really?
Yes. And so in that chapter, what we do is that we kind of, first of all, break it down with regard to what is nagging.
Yeah.
And it's that constant reminding. I mean, you have some of the men saying it's the constant reminding. It's when you're coming at me. It's the fact that, men have one-track minds. We more
Right.
compartmentalize.
Right.
You are a detailed person.
Right.
So we have to recognize, ladies, that although in good intention, you to remind your husband, you have to understand that he's compartmentalized the stuff.
Right.
And if he forgot, it doesn't mean that he doesn't love you or he doesn't love the kids.
Okay,
or-
I'm glad
Yeah.
you mentioned this. Okay.
And-
if he forgot and you don't remind him, which quote unquote is nagging, okay, perfect example. Okay. There was a mirror that I wanted up in my bathroom. And we bought this mirror, agreed that we were going to put this mirror up. There was a downstairs bathroom that didn't have a mirror, wanted a mirror. Okay. after 6 months of asking about this mirror, I was like, okay, I feel like I'm nagging, so I'm just not even going to say anything. Fine, we just won't have a mirror in the downstairs bathroom. I came home on Saturday, the mirror was up.
Yeah.
I'm like, so what, I had to be quiet for 2 months before you to just decide to put the mirror up? Like, how do you, like, when does it go from, okay, I'm just trying to be a friendly reminder to nagging?
I'm going to give a great example that a friend of mine, Brian Clark, he's an attorney. He's in the book as well in that particular chapter. He's talking about how his wife says, I'm going to do what I can to set you up to win and not set you up to lose, right?
Okay.
So understanding that you got a one-track mind.
Right.
He's an attorney working on a home. Clearly he's working throughout the day, right? So he used an example of he was supposed to get the carpet cleaned, right?
Yes.
Okay, so she said on Friday, hey, Brian, you going to do the carpet up? What are we going to do? Yeah, baby, I got it.
Taken care of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Monday rolls around, baby, going to do the carpet? Yeah, baby, I'm going to do the carpet. He said what she did was the next time, I think it was at that Tuesday, she came to him, and ladies, this is where you want to learn to utilize a male's ego. You can utilize that to motivate him to do something if you do it correctly.
I'm listening.
So one of the things that men hate to hear is that I'll do it myself. We don't, once you say that you're going to do it yourself, we don't like, so just hear me out. So what she said to him, okay, look, if I'm going to give you to Thursday to do it. If this is not completed by Thursday, I'm going to do it myself. It was done in the next 24 hours. Simply because, number one, we don't want you to do it. And number two, she kind of basically utilized his ego to kind of push.
First of all,
hey, listen, it doesn't work all the time.
Yeah.
There's another.
I don't understand this. I really don't, because let's just talk about the carpet cleaning. First thing that went through my head is, okay, he asked for the carpet to be clean. Boom, let me just grab Google. Okay, cool, carpet cleaner. Okay, they got 5-star rating. Cool, bam.
That's
okay,
you.
I need the carpet cleaned. Can you guys come on Tuesday? Honey, they're coming on Tuesday. Why?
You are the most amazing multitasker. Okay, women are you have the ability to. There's a book I read. Women are like spaghetti and men are like waffles.
And I'm with you on that.
Because we compartmentalize you. However, you can, just like spaghetti on a plate. You can go from one to the other, and you're thinking that we think like you, and we don't.
And I get that. But I'm just saying, like, just pick up the phone and be like, okay, let me.
But everybody works a little bit differently. Like if my wife said, if you have to Thursday to do it, like to get her oil change or something like that, knock yourself out.
Yeah. See, that's what a lot of guys would do. They'll be like, fine,
because sometimes what's important to you is not important to me at that moment.
Right.
And it's going to burn a hole in your brain. You need to get this done now. You're going to have to get this done now.
Well,
get this done now. And it's like, hey.
There were other ways that people also use.
Right.
One used a foyer, Sam Smith, how his wife uses a whiteboard in the foyer of their home.
Right.
And she writes on there. So he knows once he sees something up there, he has to get on that.
And guess what? I got a version of the whiteboard. I didn't even realize it. He said, honey, could you just text it to me?
Yeah. And I'm like, I tell my wife, send it in a Google Calendar. If it's not,
or put it on the calendar.
I don't understand it.
Let me say this because we got to take a quick break. For ladies, if y'all read this book, be open-minded too.
Yeah,
you got to be at a place to receive. Just like when I do a sermon on Sunday, you got to be a place to receive.
That's true.
Don't whine your neck every time you see something like, well, why he gonna be like that? Because we trying to give you education and make your relationship better.
And as somebody that's been married 15, actually this year will be 16 years, what this man is telling you all is the truth. Now, I might have an attitude about it, but it is the truth, though. Yeah. It's the truth.
That's the instruction in the first 2 or 3 pages. I tell people, hey, you know what, kind of tear that down.
Tear the wall down.
Yes.
Right now, you're listening to Donnie Jones Live with Donnie the Tree Lady.
And Marty McFly.
We will be right back.
Yeah. Welcome back to Donnie Jones Live. I am Donnie the Tree Lady.
And I am that guy, Marty McFly.
I got to tell you, I am loving this show today.
I'm enjoying it too.
I ain't gonna lie, we had a few shows where I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just messing.
Those are the people that you probably won't see back on the show. But we're gonna definitely have Mr. King back here.
We definitely
gonna
have
names. You just
I want to go back to nagging. I want to talk about a couple of other chapters, but you just said something that
oh my God,
really resonated with me when I was 16 years old, because I had gotten to a point where I felt comfortable confronting my dad about some stuff that I just saw that I was not. that I was not afraid to talk to him about anymore. So I called him out because there was some people that looked a whole lot like us in the next community. And I'm like, Dad, is that one of your customers, or is that, because she ain't got no more trees in her yard, because he owned a tree service. And I'm like, because this ain't right, and you wrong, and all this kind of stuff. And you know what my dad said? He said, Donaldo, that's my name. He goes, I love your mother. I don't want you to ever get it misunderstood, get it twisted. He goes, I love your mom. He goes, but when I'm over at my friend, he said he always called him his friend. When I'm over at my friend's house, I can have peace.
Yes, that's a good point.
He said, I love your mom, but I just have no peace in our house. And he goes, when I'm at my friend's house, she'll make me a sandwich. I can watch a little TV, and I have peace.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
I didn't really take it that well.
Oh, no.
But now looking back, I get it, because I've talked to so many men that I was like, I never wanted to. I love my wife. I never wanted to do anything wrong. But sometimes it's just nice to be able to kick it with somebody, get some food, and just chill and not have anybody pulling at me.
Yep. They always, when I was growing up, they said, quiet women don't get choked.
I'm not touching that one.
I ain't touching that either.
That's a good point, though. Just because when you come in the house and it's like, hey, where you been at? Where you been at? This is where the groceries at? And this is. You take the trash out. Well, why you take the trash out? Can you get the? You hush.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so what would you say about that? Like, have you in your research?
Hey, you know what? It's funny. Even the Bible says that though too.
Yeah, a man would rather live on a roof than to deal with an angry and contentious woman. Yeah. So that means
my dad used to throw that scripture out there too.
I mean, here's the thing: we don't like the Bible sometimes, but the Bible is the truth. It is what it is, and then people want to start nitpicking. We can do that all day, but the instructions are in there.
Yeah.
And so if
thou shalt shut the.
but there's instructions that are in there.
Yeah.
Even if we look at the simple fact of we were told to love,
Right.
you were told to respect.
Right.
It's not that you don't need respect, and it's not that we don't need love, but we're built inside of respect.
Absolutely.
That's one of the number one things men need: respect. What do women need? Love. That's why we were taught to instructed to love. So each one has what the other one needs.
Yeah.
And if we could learn to respect that and walk in that and love that, then that's how we complement each other.
Right. Yeah.
And so, if you want to compliment your spouse, ladies, one of the things is that when you want to approach them with something, it's all about when.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've had ladies hit me on my Instagram and say, I don't have time to do all that. Well, okay. You don't have time to communicate properly? That's fine.
Right.
Number one.
But it's going to affect your relationship.
Communication is the number 3 reason for divorce. Number 2 is finances. Number 1 is infidelity. And number 1 and number 3 crisscross.
Yeah.
Which means that the number 1 reason you might lose your spouse, ladies, is the same reason why you're saying you don't want to do it. Oh, okay, fine.
Right.
But if you don't know, when we're sitting there and watching the game, or I don't even video game, but I know some of my clients, they play video games just to calm down. To you ladies, it might look like he's not doing something, but he is. He's just like when you said what you said to your husband when you were speaking, you don't realize he's thinking.
Yeah.
You just didn't know it.
Yeah.
And he's like, let me just make sure, because the one thing that a man wants to do, he does want to satisfy his wife.
Yeah.
But if he's got a compartment going on, if he's thinking about a bill, if he's thinking about whatever, it's difficult for him to put carpet cleaning in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Or hang a mirror. To you, you're like, just hang the mirror. We're like, but I'm trying to get this money. Or I'm trying to make sure that this light doesn't get shut off. Or I'm trying to make sure I get a promotion at my job. Who knows?
Right.
So the carpet goes way down here. Because you're actually in front of me.
Right.
I'm actually trying to do what I need to do for you.
Right.
But in this moment, you want me to do the mirror. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And so if you realize when, and I don't know, can I say the other portion about when's the best time to come at your man?
Oh, yes.
Ladies, one of the best time is after sex,
Right.
because the dopamines and the dopamines and the oxytocin, excuse me, put us in a state of wanting to actually receive what you're saying.
Right. And understand that
is
it doesn't
true,
mean
though.
after sex just with you. If he's leaving his mistress' house and he
Okay,
just come
Marty,
home,
I'm done with you,
he's in
Marty.
the best place then
Marty,
too. I'm
Marty
just
is
agreeing
no
with him.
longer.
But honestly, he did say something earlier that I want to just kind of highlight again.
Okay, please.
Because even in the Bible, I always like to bring the biblical things in it.
Absolutely.
The Bible doesn't never say for you to love your husband or your father. It says respect them.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's right.
Because it's the thing that we don't act off of love as much. It's the respect, honor us.
Right,
you know?
but that's a way of showing love, and I think that needs to be said because a lot of women get it twisted. They're like, well, I ain't no respect. No, that's the way you show him you love him. People used to always ask, and people that know me don't ask anymore, but my husband really busts it. He works from sun up to sundown to make sure we're okay.
And you were
and
hard
people, I am not. But people used to ask, why does he work so hard? That is, I am not my husband's boss. We're partners. But that's how he shows me he loves me.
Right. Oh yeah.
And I would even tell him, I'm like, honey, we got somebody else that could drive that truck, or honey, we don't have to finish that job today. But he said it makes him feel good to have it completed.
That's what's up.
And he said he knows that makes my life easier, which makes him happy, which in turn makes me happy.
And
happy
that's
wife,
why you'll
happy
notice
life.
if you that phrase right there, we can talk about that for a minute because but that's why if you ever notice when you're speaking with your husband and let's say y'all are having a disagreement, if you ever notice he'll start numbering stuff. Well, no, because I did this, and I did that, and I did. So when you were talking about the completion, what he's saying is, I completed this because I loved you.
Yeah.
I completed this because I love you. Now, you might be like, well, you didn't do number 6. And we're like, what about 1 through 5?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
You on number 6? Okay, I'm sorry. I missed 6. But I loved you 1 through 5. And no, you're just like, hang the mirror right now. We're like, but I just did these 5. You know what? That's when a man will shut down and he'll say, you know what?
You don't even appreciate you. I can't make you happy.
There you go.
And so I learned from an older lady, if you just feed him, show him respect, and make love, you're going to be all right.
I learned something
and
from an older lady
Chapter
too.
15 is relationship maintenance.
No, seriously, I learned what I wanted from a woman, from an older woman.
Chapter 15 is relationship maintenance, and that was the exact phrase behind it. I don't know if y'all remember Chris Rock from Bigger and Blacker that he did back in the 90s. Yeah. He said, feed me, F me, and shit. Okay, so I took that concept, and I took that to the men.
We do have a faith base. He didn't use it. I know.
Just to recognize people.
The faith people like to do that too.
Yeah, so I said, feed me, sex me, respect me, and leave me alone. If your wife did that, what else would you need? Like 85% of the men are like, I'm good. Yeah. And you know what? She doesn't even have to feed me because I can cook myself. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, and really, and more of the leave me alone is more of, okay, either leave me alone or collaborate me, be my business partner, like in your situation.
Well, the flip side of that is that as soon as he came, because my brain is always going. So he would come through the door, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, this customer said this, and then we got this thing at the school."
And he said that same thing, and then he's like, you walk in the door, and you're like, and we're like, yo,
exactly. And you know what he said one day? He was so sweet. He just looked at me, he goes, "Honey, can you let me land first? Just let me land."
I like that.
And I was like, okay, I knew exactly what he meant. So he would go in there, change, go take a shower, sit, watch a little TV, or grab something to eat, and then we could talk. You know.
That
but when as soon as he
huge.
opens the door, and I'm like, blah, 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 he's like, really? You know.
I try not to even let my wife know I'm home
No.
for a good 30 minutes to an hour. I sneak in and just go into like my little private little room, and just like.
And I want to make sure that I highlight to the ladies that there is work that men have to do too. So I don't want to put the whole onus on the woman. But
Once again, hold on for a second. Once again, guys, we're talking to Elam King, and he has written a book called Understanding a Man, and that's what we're talking about on the show today.
Yeah, I want to make sure that ladies understand that, which is why we have Understanding a Woman coming soon. But I say that the wife in the home, you are the chief relationship officer. You are the CRO. And you have to think about your marriage the same way as a business. A marriage is the biggest business, an emotional and financial decision that you will ever make.
Yes, it is.
So if we just sit here and go off of feeling, well, I don't feel like this, I don't feel like that. Well, what are you strategically putting in place? Don't just tell me that we're just going to love God. Don't just tell me that we're just going to love. That's not enough. How are you going to do it? And that's one of the reasons why that pre-marriage counseling is so important, because you need to set the stage and set the expectation. Then you can hold somebody accountable. But we're not able to hold each other accountable, and we have one of the worst things called undisclosed expectations. Osmosis only works in biology. It does not work in a marriage. You cannot just assume that just because you've been with somebody for 5, 10, 15 years that they're just going to absorb who you are. They're not. You have to talk.
That's right.
I say at least every 6 months to a year, you should be going to some type of marriage training, marriage coaching. You have up to a 70% chance of losing in the African American community in your marriage. That means if you line up 10 marriages, 7 of them can fail.
That's right.
So so it's no different than when you play a sport. If you're about to play your rival and you have a high chance of losing, how hard are you going to practice this week if that game is next week?
That's good.
But we don't have people practicing in their marriage. We just have people wanting to play, and then it doesn't work, and they're like, I'm not happy. Huh?
Right. Absolutely.
You didn't even do the due diligence that was necessary to maintain or win the game. That's why you lost.
That's right.
That might be a good thing. That might have been what I was messing up years ago, because I would practice just with the other team.
Okay, Marty.
But if you want to get a copy of his book, because I'm gonna definitely read this one. How can they get it again? Where is it all located at?
It's actually available on Amazon right now, also on audiobook and iTunes as well.
Right.
And you can of course visit my website, understandingaman.com. Just click on the buy now, and you will have an autographed copy coming to you.
Practice does make perfect, though.
It really does. It really and be willing to practice.
Yes,
like you just said.
With the right team.
Yeah. There should only be 2 team members in that team. And her.
Well, you got red shirt freshmen and the ones that up and coming.
Anyway, I'm Doni the Tree Lady.
And I'm Marty McFly. We will be right back.
Welcome back to Donnie Jones Live.
I am Marty McFly with the beautiful certified arborist, Miss Donnie Jones.
Yes, Doni the Tree Lady.
Who's also, just want to throw this in, is an author too, with her book Failure to Fabulous.
From Failure to Fabulous. Yes.
And she talks about, some things that you need to do to keep your husband happy.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was going to bring that up, but I'm trying to be a little vanilla here. But I think one of the things that you brought up in your book, I also brought up in my book, was that and I've talked about this transparently, that back in 2008, 9, when actually especially 10, when things were going really rough financially for us and we were starting to lose stuff and business had dried up, I was rushing trying to figure it out, and I'm sending out invoices and I'm making phone calls and I'm working late at night and my husband's working hard. He would come home and I'm making dinner and he's trying to do the little touchy-feely thing, and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Well, we're dealing with da-da-da-da. Then, I take a shower, go to bed, and he's trying to do the little touchy-feely thing, and I'm like, dude, that's not gonna happen tonight. I can't focus, and we got a truck that's about to be repossessed, and we got bills to pay, and I don't know if we're gonna stay in this neighborhood or move it. And so finally, this went on for a while, and I got mad. It's like 2-3 months of this, and he's tried it again, and I was like, why? I was like, how can you have time to think about this? How can you even think about making love? And we're going through these things. And he said, you know what, Donnie? One has nothing to do with the other. Absolutely has one. He goes, the way I feel right now has nothing to do with those invoices. It has nothing to do with the mortgage.
Out of my skin with what you're talking about right now.
And then he said, when we make love, it makes me feel closer to you, and I feel calmer.
There it is.
And he goes, and it makes me sleep better.
But no, that's the point that I said earlier.
Exactly. And so I started thinking of that act as a way of me as a wife giving him something he needed. And I just really want to talk to women real quick. And I know right now I do what I want to do when I want to do, and it's all right if that's working for you. But I'm telling you, making sure my husband is happy makes me happy.
Chapter 8 is you're going into all the time. So I was going to share that, because sexual rejection, how your husband really feels when you're telling him no.
Yeah.
And so Crystal Waterson, who actually wrote the foreword for my book, she was married at the time 21 years, and she said, I learned something from that chapter, because I never knew when I told my husband no what it was really doing. Men use the words like disappointed, confused, hurt. And you could say, well, those are just regular words. But for men, you are only source.
Yes.
And if you think about it, sex is the one thing that you cannot do by that you cannot do by yourself.
Right.
When you're married. I mean, you could, we won't go there. But you need to have a partner. Right. Everything else you can pretty much fill somebody else in there.
Right.
And so. And that portion about the fueling, I always like to let ladies know, it's like we have a tank.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it's like we're willing to go out there and lions and tigers and bears and fight them. But when we come home, there's only one person that we can plug into to get our fuel back. And even back to the, men are like waffles, that middle compartment is sex. And every compartment is connected to that.
Yeah.
We have a bad day, we want to have sex. We have an argument, we want to have sex. And so, and it's actually biological. The amygdala, which is a portion of your brain that actually carries more of the worrying, it's larger in women than it is for men. But why is that? Well, we're the security. So we're the security of the home, of the family. We can't be as scared to do things. So our worry factor is less. We more keep it up here and we don't talk about it. So you're like, why are you not worried about this bill? Really, we are. We're worried, but if we have sex and then go back to thinking about it, we can think about it better. And that's just real. So think about it. The person who's going to go protect your home, do you want them to have the same worry level as you?
No, not at all.
So that's the biological pieces. And you can look it up, y'all. Amygdala, part of your brain, it's bigger in you than it is for me. So you're talking about the worrying and stuff like that. We're like, we're worrying, but we're really not. He's not worried.
Us. He's not. It doesn't bother him the way it bothers. Like it bothers me when things aren't like this. It bothers me when things are tight. Him, he's like, okay, we'll be all right. You know, and
that's the reason why that there's that's why the dating the woman, throughout the day in order to have sex. There's this they compare you to a woman is like a electric oven and a man is like a gas oven. Turns on immediately. Right? Okay, goes off immedely, right? A woman, once you turn them on, you turn the fire's still burning for them. Yeah. And so, that's we can take that to orgasms and how long those might take in women versus men, but at the end of the day, don't take it personal, ladies. Right. That absolutely. Your man is saying, still wanting to be intimate with you.
And I think actually once I got over my thinking, oh, well, you don't care because you want to still do this and I don't, it made me want to. Because I knew it made him happy, which in turn then made me happy.
Everything else.
Because he can go to another source and you don't want to do that.
That's what I was about to say. I'm saying because that is a scary other aspect of it is like if you go into a gas station, it's never got gas or it's never open, you're eventually going to go to the gas station down the street. Right. Because if every time I go to my wife and it's like, no, I don't want you, ain't ever in the mood. Well, I still have this appetite. Right. And if I go out this house and little Miss Shoemaker down the street is like, hey, that's only gonna take me a few times. Like, no, I can't. I'm going home. But now I ain't getting no gas, nothing at the house except nagging.
But it's like you said, it's fuel. That's a great analogy.
It's fuel.
It really is.
I'm getting my fuel somewhere else.
Just like you don't want him to step out. Well, it's wrong for you to step off and tell him no. And you need to go to your scripture for that if you don't believe that. Right. So and there's a difference between abuse. And things of that nature, the abuse factor of, we got to have sex every day and all that. No. Listen, you should have understood the appetite for your spouse long before today. Yeah. Okay? And then carry the one, add one more in there, right? So once you know what that appetite is, it is your responsibility.
Yeah. Right. Don't go on no diet once you get married.
Yeah, it's your responsibility to satisfy that. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. Just don't get married. Get your little, little person. You get somebody. If you don't want the responsibilities that come with marriage, don't get married.
But see, that's just it. I love being married, and I love the journey. And it's just, I feel so sorry for some of my sisters that are out here that some of them are married and some of them aren't married, but they have this ideology of what it's like to be in a healthy relationship. Like I've got a good friend of mine who's in a relationship, and she keeps picking her husband apart because he ain't like this person. He don't dress. This guy works his butt off. You know who I'm talking to. He works his butt off. No, but he works his butt off, and he's smart, and he's kind, and he loves his kids. But you know what? He don't have deep conversations, Donnie. He don't really understand art in the cinema, Donnie. He don't like dressing up and going out, Donnie. I'm like, this dude loves you, and he comes home every day, and he gives you his paycheck, and it supports you in your dreams. But you tripping because this dude don't know whatever those kind of shoes are, red bottoms or whatever are.
Yeah, that's when you start looking at. I guarantee you, if I was to find out whether or not that woman is walking in her purpose, 9 times out of 10 she's not, because she's looking for the other person.
Right. No,
to
she's
make
successful
them happy.
in what she does.
I didn't say successful.
Right.
I said what makes her happy. There's plenty of people out here getting money and success in the eyes of the world, but they're not really walking in their purpose because. when you satisfy yourself first, then it's easy for the other person to complement your happy.
Right.
It is never your spouse's responsibility to make you happy. That's your job.
Right. You're
They
absolutely
can
right.
only compliment it.
Right. That's
Because
true.
if you put your trust in man, you're going to lose.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the same vice versa, man. If you put your trust in just in the woman, you're going to lose. You have to get that happy within yourself first.
I want to piggyback on something I've heard you mention faith several times. Obviously, faith is really big for you.
Yes.
How has did you actually tap on that in the book where you talked about God in the book?
Well, chapter 13,
Okay.
is the importance of spirituality in your relationship.
Yes.
And so I touch on that because, and it's whatever your faith is, but I am a believer.
Yeah.
And so that is the angle that I do come from in there. We're not Bible beating you and thus saith the Lord,
Right.
the whole thing, but it's really tying the pieces together.
Yes,
Of
yes.
just not only just saying I love God, but just, you get to see the love that God actually has for you on this earth through your spouse.
Oh, that is so
And
true.
But
true.
you have to walk into this doing your part first.
Yeah.
And so God will give us exactly the desires of our heart, but
Yes.
He's also saying, I need you to come in on this too.
Yes.
So, and then I can give God something to breathe on.
Yes.
Do not just think that He's just going to have a magically delicious man that's just going to walk up to you.
Right.
If you're not walking in the actions that are necessary, then He can't breathe on your actions to bring forth your Boaz.
That's right.
That's why Boaz don't want your so because you ain't doing your part, you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying, or
absolutely.
vice versa. So that's the angle that I really try to come from,
Yeah.
because I do believe God brings us the desires of our heart,
I
and
really
we can
do
see
believe
His
it, too.
love through our spouse.
That's right. I love that. I absolutely
Love that. Like you know what? Usually around this time we do some kind of inspirational moment, but I think you have kind of touched on so many of them that
I
just
was
like,
trying to go
right. And I know it's like that time, but it's like, you know what? Really, I just pass the plate, and find your Boaz and get your act together, because you have not, because your donkey is not doing the right things.
I always say, find yourself, and then you can be found. And that's one of the biggest things, ladies, is that, and again, don't get me wrong, there's a responsibility for men to do too.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
looking with regard to just staying, because, women will flip it in a minute. Well, what about what men do? We'll talk about that next time.
Right.
Okay?
Exactly. And there will be a next time, because I feel like there's still some conversations that we need to have. There's a few. See, I didn't even get to everything in here.
There's a big. This is like a table talk that we need to do for men and women, because
Yeah.
I think this is a conversation that we do really need to
Right.
have, an open
Absolutely.
conversation, because a lot of times we love to point the finger.
Yes.
And we don't like to see ourselves. And like sometimes men, we got to look at ourselves too.
Right.
Absolutely.
To say, okay, how do we, because we weren't brought up to show our spouses how to love them. We don't know how to love sometimes. So that's
Right.
another conversation for another
Well,
day.
in February of 2020, we do have a conference coming up. I'll have more information about that, but I think a panel about relationships would be very apropos.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah,
Can I
it'd be
come?
great.
Don't even hurt you. Don't even hurt. Because she ain't sitting here. I'm sitting here, and I know I already reserved the place, baby. Don't even try.
I am down for you.
The dynamic duo is in the place.
We are
We've
here.
already.
But you know what? Until next week, I've always enjoyed the show. Man, I love hanging out with the king today.
Yes.
And hanging out with the queen, Miss Doni Jones, the certified arborist.
Yes, and the pastor, king, and businessman Marty McFly.
I am who I am, that guy.
I
We'll
love
see
it.
y'all next week, all right?
Yeah.
Bye.